Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Path of Exile. I, Kagekaze, come to you from the future! Well, maybe not really the future. This character is, though, in Act 2, and you may be wondering, well, we didn't see that. You may also be wondering where the Brutus fight went. Well, that's actually what this video is about. You see, I've already recorded my exploits going into Act 2, and so that video will be coming out. But in the meantime, it was pointed out to me that my playthrough with Shadow number 2, and moving on into Shadow 3, was missing some very important information. It did it Dweller of the Deep, and then all of a sudden the next video started with me having beaten the first boss in Act 1. So it could cause kind of a disconnect, really, especially if you haven't really played Path of Exile before. If you had, you knew the difference right away. That, you know, hey, wait a minute, you talked about beating Brutus, but he hasn't been killed yet. Well, what we're going to do is kind of rectify that. For anyone that hasn't been through Path of Exile, we're going to kind of show that off. I'm going to show that area off and kind of get you through the boss fight of Brutus and give you an idea of what my ideas and strategy were at the time when beating him, because it really wouldn't have changed much here. Even though I am in Act 2 and I am currently level 17, I am pretty much not going to have too much of a problem with him with that. But I can still give you a rough idea of what it is. It's kind of the same strategy I use even now when I'm fighting tough opponents. It's pretty much go in, stick and move, and then use Whirling Blades when I am getting hurt. And what I'll be doing is I'm going to try and make this fairly quick, because I want to get through the areas and kind of basically catch you up without going back too far, because obviously the last video, number 3, went through a lot of areas already beyond that. So we're just kind of going through, taking a look at the areas. See, this is the ledge, and honestly, all you would have missed if you're new is the upper submerged passage. When I last left off, I was in lower submerged passage, went off to the flooded depths. Well, there was also an upper submerged passage, basically a second part to this area here. Quite honestly, second verse was exactly like the first. It pretty much looked exactly the same. So you're really not missing out too much there. But this is the ledge, and this is a very linear zone. There's really not a lot of exploring to do here. But it's pretty nice looking. You can go out and you can see the wonderful water effects that they have in the game, and you're basically on a cliff side here. And you can see why the villagers want you to clear the area out, because obviously it's a very narrow pathway. They don't really have a way around this, and they have to pretty much go through the prison to get a good shot to anything else, any other supplies. And of course here we have Kuduku the False God. He is always here. He does pretty much some lightning AoE there. Not doing too much to me. I have decent weapons now that are giving me some good life on hit. Just kind of picking up, well, I'm finding some decent items as I go along, actually, for scrolls and scraps, and not bad. Pretty much ignoring much else. Act 2 has a pretty good jump in item quality from Act 1. Alright, so moving forward, you see lots of skeletons here. Just going to keep running through them. And then you finally come up here to the rocky climb. Now, if I were to be perfectly honest, I would say that you're really not missing much between episodes 2 and 3. You're missing the ledge, the climb, and the prison. Now, the prison is actually a pretty cool looking level. So there is that. You would be missing that. And you, of course, would be missing the boss fight with Brutus. Those are really the only two big things. And again, I really want to apologize about this, because it does upset me, because it means I had footage that I recorded that went missing. I had a feeling something was wrong when I was putting out number 3 and I was looking at my notes, because I write down, you know, in the video description you'll see I always have timestamps and things like that, and what I usually do is I will go back, rewatch a video I've recorded, and then listen to what I put in there, and I will try and put in various highlights of what my video talked about. And I will try to avoid things like the standard stuff, like I talk about skills and whatnot. That's usually implied that I'll be talking about that. So I usually try to write down the stuff that might be interesting to listen to. If I think there is a point of interest there, I'll put it in the video description. So obviously that means a lot of that footage, or, you know, that commentary would have gone missing at this point. Iron Point the Forsaken using some rain of arrows on me. Let's stop that, shall we? Very good. So I lost all of that. I went back, I tried to find it. I tried to find it on my hard drive. And the footage is gone. It is completely gone. I have no idea what happened to the actual Shadow Video 3 that would have come out. So unfortunately, I can't exactly go back in time, correct it, and put it up and rename them. So we'll just do this. This is going to be kind of a 3.5, I guess, a supplemental video, just to kind of show everything that was missed out in between the two. And so you see, it's not a very large zone, so pretty straightforward. And here we get to the lower prison, and you can see it starts to get pretty grim at this point. Alright, the prison is one of the areas that got updated pretty much just before open beta, or even I think this might even have happened right when open beta hit. And I talked about this, but I don't think I talked about it in one of the videos you guys have seen, obviously, again with the missing footage. They added doors that weren't here before. Back in closed beta, all these areas were pretty much open, and they added in clickable doors to kind of give it more, like, there you go, there's a door right there. They added in for a little bit of ambience. You can just go ahead and click it, throw it open. And this all used to be open, so it's kind of cool to see that they were able to add that in. It's a minor thing, doesn't really affect gameplay, at least now. They haven't really make it affect gameplay in any way, but it's a nice aesthetic touch that I think really kind of livens up the world to give you a feeling that that it could be a world, you know. Everything's not just flat out open and broken and busted. And they could use this little mechanic that they've added in later in other maps. What have we got here? Chatters! Oh yeah, you'll run into Chatters. He is a boss that always shows up here. I don't think his mods are always the same though, but he is always here in this area. So taking out Chatters, and we're going to be moving forward, and I will do my best to get to Brutus here very quickly. You can see I'm just pretty much using my whirling blades to tear through opponents and get myself forward. Let's go ahead and start using the Quicksilver Flasks. Here is the waypoint, so this is a waypointed area. We'll go ahead and show that real quick. We are in the prison. And as I said, it's pretty straightforward. There was really no side quests or anything like that. We went from Dweller of the Deep and going all the way up here, and here, Prisoner's Gate is the next area where I started in video 3. So this is my penance. Going back and killing Brutus again. Not that that's particularly hard. The first time encountering him, yes, he was a little bit difficult. It required a lot of hidden move. You'll kind of see that. Brutus is a pretty cool boss. He's a big homage to the, I would say to the Butcher, even in Diablo 3. He was even given a new attack in open beta that resembled the Butcher. Alright, we're on the upper floor. This one is a bit... Every time you move forward, I was going to say this one gets a bit bigger, but let's face it, every time you move forward in each new area, it gets bigger. It gets bigger and bigger. And honestly, in Act 3, it starts to get ludicrous. I've finally seen some zones in Act 3, and they are so astoundingly huge. I just don't even get it. I mean, they're cool. They're definitely very cool-looking maps. But sometimes you just get so lost trying to get from one point to the next. Alright, let's see. I like the design of this, although it kind of makes you wonder where the floor's gone. It's definitely got this despair vibe about it. And then you start running into necromancers. I believe this is when you first start running into them. Enemies that can start raising the dead. They are such a pain. Going through an area that you're of level that has necromancers can be difficult if you don't know the necromancer is there. Here's Sawbones. He's another unique monster that shows up in the prison here. He will always show up just like Chatters. We're just going to go ahead and take him out. And I apologize that it's not much to show on that. Actually taking some damage there with all that lightning. Hello, frost damage, my old nemesis. Oh, door. There's a door. I'm trying to walk forward, and there's a door. Okay. So like I said, we're going to be pretty quick. I'm honestly not too far off from Brutus. These areas are fairly linear, but as you can see, I'm not really killing everything. I'm just kind of blasting through them. And this is something that will happen even in the main videos as I go forward, is I'm going to find some areas that I'm going to just want to go through rather than killing everything, because if I sat there and killed everything, it would take me forever. Of course, video magic being what it is, I can always just edit out if I decide to do that, and just show you the highlights, which I like to do. I find it reduces the monotony, and you don't have to sit here and listen to me chatter inanely about, I don't know, the weather. Not that I've done that, but still. I have to sit and talk about something. My philosophy has been... Hold on. I heard a ding. Oh, it's a ring. Haha! Alright. So I have a philosophy that, you know, gameplay is great, and some people really like just raw gameplay. They don't want to see commentary, anything like that. And I agreed with that to a point, and that's when Diablo 3 came out, and I started watching Diablo 3 footage, and I realized all this footage was out, but I really didn't get what was happening on the screen at times. You know, it was decent gameplay, but then I went out and found Diablo 3 commentary videos. That's when I ran across Force, and I found that watching gameplay is great, but sometimes you want an interactivity with it. You want to know what the person is kind of thinking and what they're going to be doing. Here we go. Here we go. We get a little bit of gruesomeness as we're going into the Warden's quarters. But to conclude this thought, really, is you kind of want to see sometimes what they're thinking, what they're doing, or maybe get an explanation of what's going on. And it kind of expands your knowledge of the game and gives you a better idea of what to expect when you're playing, because just because you watch someone play doesn't necessarily mean you know exactly how it's going to play. For example, there could be a mechanic in play that is affecting how they play that you're not seeing. For example, when they make an attack, are they having to be rooted to the spot? Are they able to move, or what? So you get a better idea, because sometimes things can look very different than how they actually feel. So, alright, we're going to move forward. This is a level we have no monsters here. We are in the upper prison now, following the blood trail, and we can see there is the person responsible for the blood trail, a person who is now very much dead.
An exile here. A shame the Warden won't leave anything for me to examine. Make sure you tell our host that Piety of Theopolis sends her regards.
Now this is important story-wise, and another reason why I wanted to at least come through here and do this. Piety is a character that you will be chasing down through the storyline, so I want to make sure that those following along know about her existence.
Still the Karui barbarians advance from the south. Lioneye is dead, his legion slaughtered. Should the need arise, we shall retreat through Prisoner's Gate, raising my barricade behind us. But our Lord Brutus nears readiness. Foul times demand heroism. The Warden will serve as our savior. May he crush the Karui into the sand with the mighty fists I shall gift to.
And there it ends. I believe that is when we interrupted her, but we'll now move forward. We see lots of blood on the path. And the doors are closed, oddly enough. She's run away, but the doors are closed. I guess she's just closing them behind them. And here we go, the Warden's Chambers. This will be the first boss fight of Act 1.
Visit me a horror. I will show you what true horror is.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brutus, and right there, that is the attack that was added for closed beta that makes him very much like the Butcher of Diablo 3. He has a hook that he will throw out and try and pull you in. His other ability is a shockwave that you can see there that oddly enough splatters blood everywhere. I'm not exactly sure where that blood is coming from, actually. I wonder if he'll bleed out if I just keep circling him. So, before open beta, his only attacks were that shockwave and a regular melee attack, which made Brutus very easy to handle as a ranged character. He really had nothing he could do to stop ranged characters, because you would just keep your distance like I am now, and just keep hitting him. Oh, ow. He didn't pull me in that time, oddly. But with that hook, if you're not careful, he can, see, pull you in and do damage to you. So my whole strategy, he's not actually able to hit me apparently. My evasion rating must be, yeah, I just avoided that shockwave through my evasion rating. Okay, this is not going to be as epic as I thought it would be, but at least you're getting to see Brutus, and you can kind of see where I feel that he's a lot like the Butcher. And a lot of this becomes hit and run, honestly. As a melee, it's kind of what I did, is I would wait for him to do an attack, I would kind of go in, try and get a little bit of damage if I could, and then pull out as I needed to. And because my claws have life on hit, I would kind of use my whirling blades to my advantage to try and hit him if he had hurt me. So I spent the last bit of the fight pretty much just doing this, running around him and hitting him with whirling blades until he pretty much fell over from embarrassment. Well, apparently it's not doing tons of damage, so we'll just go ahead and let's finish off Brutus, and there it is. He explodes into blood and guts, leaving tons of items on the ground, and this is what I love about boss fights in this game. There is no shortage of items
Too much baggage.
that will drop in the game. I'm not too worried about picking any of it up, though. We're going to go ahead and we're going to leave. And this is kind of the supplemental video, as you can see, very quick. Honestly, when I first recorded it was much longer because I was going through actually killing more monsters. And, of course, I wasn't as strong as I am now, so it took longer. And this right here is where I would have picked up in video 3, and this is right where I started, right here. Again, you have my apologies. It's very frustrating for something like that to happen. I try to be very careful about not losing footage like that. I usually am very meticulous about re-recording if I feel like something is missing. And of course, in a game like this, I can't exactly just go back and redo the quests, but I can at least go through the zones and show you and kind of catch you up to speed as to what's been happening. So hopefully, for those of you who haven't been through Path of Exile before, you can kind of see what that's like. Now, please keep in mind the difficulty of that fight was very much skewed. I am very much higher level than the area. I'm level 17. If we go here and we look at his zone, that's a level 9. Alright, I am 8 levels at a minimum above him. So I've out-leveled the content greatly. But I at least wanted to show him. And especially because I think it's really cool that they've got this boss that mimics Butcher so well. I can't really say that they did it as an homage, but I can't see how they wouldn't have, especially giving him that hook shot that the Butcher from Diablo 3 has. So I find it funny, and it was just very cool to experience that. So. Alright, this is Path of Exile. Again, this is kind of a supplemental video to video 3. And so if there's any questions still or anything like that, let me know. And again, I apologize, thanks to you guys that pointed that out. I will see you next time in video 4.